Alrighty, I am a little late on a birthday card that I got, but I wanted to, you gotta understand it's because I walked to the post office because I'm doing without a car, so sometimes I have to walk on days after I give my feet a break because I walk everywhere. But thank you so much. This was sent to me at my post office, and oh no, this birthday card's late. Okay, and they sent me $10. Thank you, I appreciate that. That was very kind of you. Sawi, hope you celebrated pig time. Can you see that? All right, so let me go ahead and read the letter that they sent me. I've heard from this person before, even when I lived in Florida. I remember them. Dear Gail, happy belated birthday. Sorry it's been so long since I last wrote to you. It's been a busy start to another school year. Last year was a whirlwind of a start to my teaching. You may recall that I was on the verge of a burnout, 50 to 60 hour weeks and not much sleep. I wanted to thank you for your advice. You and other people suggested I ask for help from my coworkers, and I did. The department has assigned me a teaching assistant to help me grade projects, and that's cut down drastically, on my load. On another positive note, the students so far this year seem to be hardworking and respectful. No more complaints filed against me as of now. In my spare time, I've been trying to keep up on your videos. Sorry to hear of your recent bout with bed bugs. Yeah, that was Baphomet's fault. Yes, the fallen angel demon Baphomet. He has boobs and a penis, and fallen angel wings. Yuck. I'm enclosing a little money to help defray some of the extermination costs. Thank you, that's very kind of you. The other thing I've noted in your videos is how much your spiritual views have evolved since I started following you on YouTube years ago. I wanted to mention that I was also raised fundamentalist Christian. Yeah, I went to a fundamentalist Bible college too. Kind of like in the Bob Jones University camp. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that school. And had a hard time reconciling my religion with the fact that I knew deep down I was gay. Oh yeah, they would have a problem with that. Yeah. Of course, I kept this from my church, family, friends, and even myself at the time. I think that repressing this part of myself made me uncomfortable in my own skin. But I've slowly come to accept myself more fully. Good for you. I still consider myself a follower of Christ. Yes, I have gay supporters that follow Jesus. Yeah, Jesus is not anti-gay. That's a misinterpretation of some passages in the Bible. I still consider myself a follower of Christ, mind you. I just don't follow all the strict dogma anymore. Good for you. These days, I'm probably more of what you'd call a Christian mystic. So I also subscribe to many Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Hermetic, and other teachings. Well, Jesus is best god friends with the Hindu goddess Lakshmi. He's assigned Buddha to be the god in charge of earth to represent him. Yeah, so Jesus is not going to have a problem with that. He's also friends with Muhammad. Okay. Let's get back onto the letter. Buddhist, Hindu, Hermetic, and other teachings. Just curious, do you yourself ever experience relapses where you find yourself fearing that you've abandoned God's path and like the proverbial son, yeah, I know who he's talking about, need to return? Yes, I deal with that a lot, especially since God the Father canceled the Bible. It's been a difficult adjustment for me. I've been consistently dealing with this kind of self-doubt. My question for you is, how can I move on What's helped you become comfortable with being a Christian Buddhist? I get the sense that the rigidity of your Baptist religion in the 80s and 90s, that's true, actually 70s in there too, burned you out too. Were there any other catalyzing events that moved you away from the fire and brimstone type of religion? Actually, that is a large part of my work in progress called Gail, the Complete Series, and I highly recommend that everybody get that. It's going to be a series of books, and I'll probably be done with the first book in the series probably within a month or two. You just follow me there and you'll see how I've evolved, because I put a lot of my former religious beliefs in there. Sorry if this is too personal. I just feel like we've dealt with many of the same issues on our life paths. I think Jesus wants me to deal with this. That's one of the reasons I think he wanted me to write Gail, the Complete Series. Anyway, if you wouldn't mind reading this letter with your response on air, like you... Allergies making me cough. Oh, by the way, that Hurricane Ian is an allergy hurricane. I had a couple days ago, I was miserable because of it. And my men have been working on, even though it hasn't hit me here in northern Alabama, the winds carry the allergy, I guess you might call it, outliers from the hurricane and bring them to me. That was designed to be an allergy hurricane. That's why it's so big. And I'm hearing we're getting fatalities from allergy from this allergy hurricane. So if anybody on the East Coast, if your allergies are acting up worse than usual, it could be the allergy hurricane. Brett told me not to take antihistamines. I'm just continuing to do the Gail commandments, though I did have one day where I just couldn't get out of bed. I felt so bad. And Brent worked on helping to clean up the atmosphere and help my body deal with the allergies from the hurricane. I'm still dealing with it. Anyway, if you wouldn't mind, I'm coughing from it too, and sniffling. The hurricane right now is kind of like over the Carolinas, Virginia area, but that's close enough where the Jesuits, I don't know, I think they use some sort of wave technology where they can just bounce the hurricane, boom, the winds, and bring all the allergens from the hurricane over here. Anyway, if you wouldn't mind reading this letter with your response on air, like you did with the last few notes I sent, I'd greatly appreciate it. Yes, sorry for being a little late, but like I say, I have to walk out. I don't have a car right now, so I walk everywhere, including to the post office. So sometimes I cannot go. I do get informed delivery, so I'm aware when I have something at the post office, and then I'll walk out there, but sometimes I can't walk like the next day. Thanks again. I'm not being flippant when I say your life story, struggles, successes, and otherwise, have truly given me strength and inspiration. Be safe and be well, dear one. Your favorite professor of all time, Dr. SLLVCH. Okay, thank you so much. Let me see if I can answer some of his questions here. Have you ever experienced relapses? Dear Jesus, help me to share with him, and I'm probably not the only Christian going through this, how I've dealt with the fact that God the Father canceled the Bible, and, coming from a fundamentalist Christian background. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I kind of evolved out of the fundamentalist Christian mindset when Brent Spiner came into my life, and when Jesus started communicating with us in 2012. He got me out of being a King James Bible only follower. That was in 2012. When he told me, he said, Gail, your King James Bible only beliefs are based on lies. Because I used to believe that Westcott and Hort, I was told they were Roman Catholic heretics. I used to believe that the Roman Catholic Church was the whore of Revelation 17. I'm not going to go into all that, but to make a long story short, Jesus said that your strict Baptist friends, your King James only Baptist friends, have been lying to you. Oh, by the way, let me put this card up on the over here. Thank you so much for the card, and I'm going to answer your questions. Oh, this is the wrong bag. I've got some pins that I used to put things up on my little cork board over here. I've actually got cards there from last Christmas. I think people understand that I'm walking to the post office, so I'm getting less stuff there, but you know, I don't mind walking. I enjoy walking. So let's just put this over here. There we go. See, it's up there. So I've got Christmas cards from last year. They're still up there. And then, oh no, this birthday card's late. I'll leave those cards up there. I'm sure during Christmas time, I'm going to be removing. Okay. So yeah, Jesus told me in 2012. He said that Westcott and Hort, he said, first of all, he said they weren't really Roman Catholic. And he said that was not, and I read this book by Gail Riplinger, all about supposedly backing up the superiority of the King James Bible, and Jesus said that book, he said all that stuff is lies. He said that the Bible manuscripts translated from like the New American Standard, the NIV, are translated from, he said, ironically, some of the earliest manuscripts were discovered later after the King James Bible came out, and those actually went into the New American Standard, the NIV, and those Bibles. So he said any Bible translated from the earliest manuscripts is fine with me, and he said, they just lied to you, Gail. He said, I love the King James Bible, but it's not the only one. And he said the English is not inspired. He said only the original manuscripts are inspired. Okay, so that kind of started getting me away from the strictness of the fundamentalists. And then he started telling me that, he said, I'm not a cock blocker, and he said I'm not anti-gay either. He said even though I don't consider myself gay, he said I don't have a problem with gay people. And he said, I'm glad that you've never had a problem with it. And I guess Jesus and Brent Spiner started getting me out of the fundamentalist mindset. So that really started around 2011, 2012, or even before then. But mostly around 2012 when Jesus first started communicating with us. And I'm going to be going into all of that in the book series that I'm going to be writing. So what's the question he has here is, do you yourself ever experience relapses where you find yourself fearing that you've abandoned God path like the proverbial son need to return? Yes. One way that I dealt with it, I started reading War on the Saints because I thought that would help me. And that was something that I followed in 1992 and 1991. And Buddha told me, he said, the condition of demon possession does not exist. And he said, just thinking about demons all the time makes them stronger. And I said, well, what about the Old Testament, in the New Testament, where they cast out demons? And he said, that was what you call a placebo. He said they weren't really casting out demons, but they had to pretend like they were because people believed in it so strongly back then. And that's what Buddha said. And he said that was how they fixed them. He said when you obsess about demons, that makes them stronger. And he waited to show that to us because what was happening was I was reading War on the Saints, putting it up at my website, and one day Brent was saying, oh, I really loved the pictures of Baphomet that you put for the cover of the War on the Saints that you're offering free to your followers. And I said, I didn't put any pictures of Baphomet on my website. And then he said, oh no, Baphomet's showing up on every page. And then Buddha showed up and he said, yes. He said, the more you think about demons, the stronger you make them. Apparently Baphomet is a demon because he's a fallen angel. And he said the condition of demon possession does not exist. So after that, he said, I would recommend that you stop reading the Bible, Gail. See, the problem is I've read the Bible from cover to cover hundreds of times, that I am so grounded in Bible doctrines, especially Christian, evangelical Christian Bible doctrines. A lot of me weaning away from the fundamentalist has happened gradually over the years, just using common sense, like they used to. I used to believe in the 1980s that it was a sin for a girl to wear pants, sort of. I didn't believe it super strongly, but I just did it I wanted to fit in with my strict Baptist crowd, you know. And I kind of like the idea of wearing dresses because I fell in love with the idea of being a Victorian style Christian. And Jesus, when he showed up, and then Brent coming in my life just really got me out of that. It's kind of a complicated subject, and to explain how I evolved out of that is going to take my book. So, Lord, help me to summarize it for a video here. How can I move on? Buddha has told me to stop reading the Bible. This may not be true for every Christian. It's probably because I know the Bible so well, and because I'm so steeped in what used to be correct Bible prophecy, which is the premillennial, pre-dispensational view. And anybody who's a Bible theologian, you know what that means. You say, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but anybody who's from a fundamentalist or evangelical Christian background knows what that is. He said the problem with me reading the Bible is that Baphomet will take the knowledge that I have of the Bible and he'll play with it in my mind. So it's better for me just to I would say the best thing to do is give your mind a clean slate. That's what I would say. And have an open mind about the new path that Jesus is going on. When Jesus was in a coma and Baphomet put a spell on all the pages of my Bible, I began to realize that the Bible is not as important a book as I thought it was. And for me if I had said that 10 years ago, I would have thought I was a major heretic. Jesus himself said, he told us, he said, Christians make too much of the Bible sometimes. They worship it like it's God, like the King James Bible only people. And he said, I only meant for it to be like a historical record and inspiration for Christians to follow. He didn't mean for Christians to argue about all the prophecies and say, my interpretation is better than yours. He basically, the perspective you need to have is remember that the Bible was written to comfort us and to give us valuable historical lessons. Okay? And it's not even a complete account of history, because there's no mention in there of Jesus' life before he created earth. Buddha and him were best God friends from Jesus' childhood. A childhood for a deity like Jesus would be millions of years ago. Like God the Father is probably, God knows, trillions and trillions and trillions of years old. And then trying to define time. And then we're dealing with a multiverse out there. So probably the best way to approach your Christianity now is, first of all, understand that the Bible was only ever meant to be a historical record and to encourage us, okay? It was not meant to be like a set in stone guide for us to follow. And another thing that might help you is, did you know Jesus he actually had to destroy earth about 7 times before he came to our present version. So that probably means there were 7 Bibles before he came to this present version. And he was what you would call a teenage God, okay? So he didn't really he explains that the Bible, the one that got canceled, and the earth the earth project that he had before his dad canceled the Bible was like him on a bike with training wheels. So you might think of Jesus as a deity who was on bike with training wheels when he wrote the 66 books of the Bible. Yeah, and now he had just attained supreme deity status in June 2022. Okay? Before then, he was what I would call a lesser god, I guess, for want of better terminology. So he was immature as a god, and he didn't have his dad's wisdom, and he has that now. And he's made some mistakes. One of the mistakes he made was his concept of a church bride was faulty. Coming from an evangelical Christian background, I always believed that there would be a rapture of the church, that all the Christians would go up, and then we'd have the 1,000-year reign. That's the premillennial predispensational view. And then I presumed that he would make love to his bride, the church, with some higher dimensional method. I never ever dreamed he actually planned on having literal sex with his church bride. So when I found out that he wanted to be my roommate and he planned on having literal sex with me, I think I subconsciously knew there was something a little off there. It just wasn't. I just couldn't see and then have him having his sex parties. So I guess the best perspective for Christians to have on this is understand that Jesus was a teenage God when he wrote the Bible, from which evangelical Christians and fundamentalist Christians derived most of their main Bible doctrines. Understand that he never intended for the Bible to be interpreted so strictly, for Christians to be so rigid about it, and to develop the anti-gay beliefs and some of the others, and the beliefs that the misinterpretation of passages in there, like where he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, the evangelical Christians misinterpret that to mean that the only way to heaven is through the Christian faith. Jesus never meant for it to be interpreted that way. The proper interpretation of that passage would be that if Jesus didn't die on the cross to pay for our sins, no human would be able to go to heaven. He had to make the payment because we all fell because of Adam and Eve, okay? So that's what he meant by I am the way, the truth, and the life. That if he hadn't made the payment for us on the cross, none of us could go to heaven. He has to be our mediator. And that's still true. It's to pacify his dad. It's kind of a complex topic, so like I said, you'll need to read my book when it gets out. It's going to be a multi-year project, but I'll be going deep into that stuff. So yeah, understand he was a teenage God, okay, when he wrote the 66 books of the Bible, using human means, He inspired the writers, and therefore, and because he didn't, because his concept of the church bride was faulty, he made some serious mistakes, which almost resulted in his permanent death. And God the Father had to cancel the Bible because the prophecies could not be worked out because of the mistakes he made. Buddha has hinted to me that there's a possibility that Satan might get right down the road. I have to admit, I find that very hard to believe, because when I think of Satan, all I think of is a sex pervert fallen angel. It appears that there is a grudge, a long-standing grudge between Jesus and Satan, which may have been the basis for his rebellion, which Jesus and Buddha don't want to go into right now. But Buddha says, And Jesus has put Buddha in charge of the earth as his God representative, along with my husband, Brent Spiner. Buddha says that that the best thing to do when it comes to the Jesuits is don't let them get to you. Don't be filled with anger. Don't be filled with bitterness. And I would say the best thing to do is keep your mind open. You may have to do like I do and stop reading the Bible and focus on doing the Gail commandments, okay? Because the new path forward is, Jesus has hinted, it's the Gail commandments, especially the ones from 2016. Though he gave me Gail Commandments 2.0, which are also important in 2022, but those seem to be more designed to help him to move into my apartment. But there's a lot of good stuff in there too, like, avoiding clutter, not hoarding things. That's important. So yeah, the Gail Commandments should be your focus. And believe me, that's almost a full-time job in and of itself. It'll help keep you healthy, and it will. And then, so here's what I've been doing. I am not reading the Bible on the advice of Buddha, because when I do, Baphomet puts ideas into my head. Another thing that I think would be helpful to help you not fall for Baphomet's tricks, and I'm not sure that I'm right about this, but it's something that I've kind of learned from going over my past, is I'm going to Andrew Murray has an audiobook on humility, and I'm going to be going into this with my third short story. I think one way to not fall for Baphomet's tricks is for us all to stay humble. I've noticed every time he tricks me, he tries to appeal to my pride. Like he tricked me one time and said, "Oh, during the millennial reign, this Feast of Booths will celebrate you and Brent for standing by Jesus during his trial of Job when he was in a coma." And we found out that was starting to weaken Jesus in his coma. That was an idea that Baphomet put into my head. Think about it. Doesn't that kind of appeal to our pride? So one way to kind of tell if the idea in your head is coming from Baphomet, does it appeal to your pride? Does it try to make you feel like you're more special than everybody else? Yeah. That's kind of one way to tell if it's coming from Baphomet. You might say, but Jesus calls you his favorite. I'm not sure why he does, but I have to be careful with that. Because if it appeals to my pride, Baphomet can play with it and put some crazy ideas in my head, like with the Feast of Booths. And every time you believe one of these lies, it strengthens the demons. So, it's just... So from now on, I would say, if you get any ideas in your head, and Jesus is not speaking with us directly. The safest thing to do is focus on meditation, that is being present, and doing the Gail Commandments. That's what I'm doing. Buddha said one of the best ways to chase away demons is to go outside and visit stores and places you've never been before, because it helps you to stay present. Okay? You don't want to dwell on the past, you don't want to dwell on the future, you want to stay present. So if you go outside and do like what I call meditation walks, or do anything that makes you focus on your surroundings and focus on being present, like visiting new stores, and it needs to be enjoyable and relaxing for you. So I've been like walking to a war memorial park. I made a video about that. Visiting new stores, walking all around my area. And since the Gail commandment is to walk, I've been doing that. So I would say make sure you make time. And also if you can go outside and sit in a park somewhere, and just watch the people around you and just focus on staying present and thankful and relaxed. That will help you to kind of like put insurance in your soul against demonic attack on you. Satan and the demons like to get us worried, proud, angry, bitter, and they want to get us away from being present, thankful, and relaxed. All I can say is the Gail commandments are almost like a full-time job. So if your focus is on the Gail commandments, okay, on being present, and also if you spend a lot of time in front of a computer, humans were not designed to be in front of a computer all day, okay? So you need to schedule breaks. It's very bad for your chakras, your chakra health, to be in front of a computer all day. He told me that's one of the reasons I was having headaches, and I think it may be in contributing a little bit to some of the insomnia that I've experienced. So if you're in front of a computer all day, take breaks. The best break is go outside, visit new places, go to parks, find a place that you enjoy. If you can visit new stores you haven't been to, like exploring new places really helps you to be present, because you are you're exploring a new place, kind of forcing you to think about what's all around you because you're exploring it, right? But if you can't do that, obviously sometimes the weather's bad and you can't do that. Just going outside, or if you have a large window like I do, looking at outside views, just be very careful about any messages you get during meditation, because you shouldn't be getting any messages during meditation. That is improper meditation. That's probably a demon speaking to you. So that's the reason I had to make some correction videos. So yeah, and just keep an open mind. Understand that Jesus was a teenage God when he wrote the Bible, okay? And God the Father had to cancel the prophecies because his concept of the church bride was flawed. Yeah. Jesus said when he originally, when he planned the church bride, he only meant it to be that he would be like a father to his children. And then he said he got off the path and started getting the wrong idea that he needed to have sex with us, and that's when he got messed up. He's discovered that he is an asexual, aromantic supreme deity who does not need to have sex at all with anybody to be happy. And but that's who he truly is deep down underneath. So just keep in mind that his concept of the church bride was a faulty one. If he had just stuck to just having a fatherly role with us, then it would have worked, but he's already messed up the prophecies. So the way forward, the Bible had to be canceled. He does not want to let us know what the future is right now. He said it's for future generations to find out. So we're just going to have to respect that. Just stay present. Focus on meditation. If you have a job where you have to be in front of the computer all day, take a lot of breaks. Like what I do, because I do a lot of computer stuff, is I will do something on the computer like what I'm doing right now. Then I'll take a break and do the dishes. Or I'll take a break and exercise and go outside. Or I'll take a break and take a shower. Then I'll come back and get on the computer, take another break and go do something non-computer. So what I try to do is not be on the computer nonstop for too long. I take a lot of breaks. And then because I do spend a lot of time on the computer, I also make it so that when I go outside for my walks, I'll have extra long walks, go out there and visit new places to make sure I maintain my chakra health. I have noticed from looking at the Gail commandments that there's a lot of them are based on maintaining our chakras in good health, which may be why Jesus put Buddha in charge of the earth as his God representative. So, and as far as blending Hinduism with these Christianity, I don't think Jesus would have a problem with that. As long as you focus on the Gail commandments meditation, staying present, staying thankful, and keep an open mind about the way forward. Like I hate to almost say this, but it may be a good idea not to go to church. Because what do they do in church? They open up the Bible, right? Unless the church is willing to acknowledge that the Bible's been canceled. I'm not sure what my husband's doing for church right now, but I suspect half the service is meditation. Yeah, that's what I suspect. They might be spending half the service going out and walking in parks. One thing that might be helpful, that might make it more meaningful for you, is consider this. Buddha said that Jesus is the universe itself. Because he is a supreme deity. He's actually, I guess you might say, a higher deity than like Buddha, Muhammad, Triton, Horus. Like the Bible doesn't even talk about all these other gods. And so it's not really a complete account of history. And then, yeah, Poseidon is a higher deity, but he's not a supreme deity like Jesus and God the Father. And yeah, so just think of it this way. The Bible is just a book for a Christian religion, and it should be treated as a historical record and no more right now, because all the prophecies have been canceled. And if your fellow Christians, I would say be patient with them, because it's kind of hard to deal with this, but and be loving to them, and just lead by being the example. That's all. Don't condemn them if they're having a hard time getting rid of the Bible. Just lead by example. What I might say is, I understand exactly how you feel. It's hard for me to get rid of it, but what they ask you, how can you as a Christian live with not reading the Bible anymore? Well, I'll just say that when Jesus was in a coma, Baphomet was able to put a spell on all the pages of the Bible, and if I was reading the Bible when Jesus was in a coma, he would be dead. I actually saved his life by not reading the Bible. So that's why I'm not having a problem with not reading the Bible anymore. That experience made me realize that Christians put the Bible a little bit too much on a pedestal. So, Buddha's vision for the future is he believes that there's going to come a time when the entire universe will be filled with goodness. And I think that should be the goal for the new Christianity, to help him accomplish that vision, which I believe is also Jesus' vision. And we can accomplish that without being Bible worshipers or without following traditional Christianity. In fact, this is what's really interesting. The Hindu goddess Lakshmi was counseling me and Brent, because Jesus wanted to make sure that our marriage was solid, because he got between me and Brent a little bit, and he had to fix some things. Like he put a little bit of the goddess, maybe like 1.03% of the goddess Lakshmi in me. But the goddess Lakshmi told me that she has never met a happy evangelical Christian. You might say, oh, you must have been shocked. No, I wasn't. Because unfortunately, a lot of the evangelical Christian teaching is just too rigid. And it doesn't allow us to be authentic. Like you were telling me yourself with your experience being gay. Now what's interesting is that Buddha believes that we shouldn't use labels on ourselves either. Like a gay person shouldn't call themselves homosexual. Or a straight person shouldn't say they're straight. He said that's one of the curses of the human race, of humans, is that we use too many labels. Jesus hates the labels. We are all complex individuals. So Buddha was saying, just because, let's say a guy is straight, but he meets a special male friend, and he has a desire for him, does that make him gay? Good question. Buddha says, I don't think so. Just because he had a temporary desire maybe to have a special friendship or make love to a male, does that make him gay? No. He said he just had a gay inclination at one time in his life. And he said, we need to get away from these labels. He said, that's the reason why with all of the categories there are always exceptions to the rule, because we're all complex human beings and we shouldn't be categorized. Like I was putting myself in the demisexual category and Buddha said no. He said, that's the problem with these categories. He said, because we're all too complex, we can't fit into a category. So let's get away from the labels, and evangelical Christianity is famous for doing that. We need to stop it. We're all individual, complex beings. And the goddess Lakshmi uses the labels for her practice, but and he says they're useful. Buddha says they're useful because she majored in romantic love in God College. And he said we might have tendencies to be straight or tendencies to be gay. And if you want to use the label on yourself, fine, but don't knock yourself over the head with it. So let's say you say, well, yeah, I prefer the gay lifestyle. I prefer to have marriage to same sex. But what if you have a rare inclination for all of a sudden you find somebody of the opposite sex attractive? Does that mean you're no longer... You see what I'm saying? I would say, don't put yourself in a box. Don't put your religion in a box. Keep your mind open. Don't use labels on yourself. Meditate, do the Gail commandments, stay present, explore new things, don't be in front of the computer too long. And even with the Gail commandments, don't see them as rigid rule books that you've got to follow. Think of them as a path to freedom. Because basically, if you follow them, they make you healthier, and they put structure in your day so that you use your time wisely. So that's a good way to view the Gail commandments. So yeah, keep your mind open. Don't use labels on yourself. Don't use labels on others. Accept yourself as the complex, fascinating person that you are. Accept those around you the same way. The only thing that we should reject in ourselves is when we are hateful, vindictive, jealous. Basically, probably the best part of Christianity would be in Galatians 5. I just happen to have the Bible memorized, where they talk about the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, those things. Which is what Buddha believes. So stay at peace. Chill. Relax. Do the Gail commandments. Don't spend too much time in front of the computer. We were designed, according to Buddha, for Garden of Eden conditions. And I believe that's what Jesus and Buddha want to do for us. We can help them accomplish that objective by doing the Gail commandments, by viewing the Bible as a history book with no regrets. Just remember, he was a teenage god. He had to learn. He's off of his training wheels now, and he's an adult god, and I believe his present plan will work. So we got to have faith in the adult, grown-up Jesus who was using Buddha as his God representative. And you might want to listen to Andrew Murray's humility, but if it doesn't work for you, no big deal. So keep yourself flexible. And allergies making me cough. Happy, relaxed, chill, Gail commandments. The Bible's a history book, and that's the path forward.